name is Terrence Anderson, and we want to thank you for joining us in our new studios here at Cox 11. We also appreciate those that hung with us for those 6 or 7 weeks while we were on hiatus. Now we're about to start and do things the way we were doing them originally. We had a special celebration for the first show, but now we're back to our one-on-one interviews. And this evening I have a very special guest, Miss M. Francine Jennings. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Terrence?
Doing well. Nice seeing you.
Good
it's
seeing you.
It's been a long time.
It's been
you
a
moved
while.
down to Atlanta. You know,
yeah,
we hardly ever see one another.
Yeah, but I've seen you on Facebook.
How about a Facebook community, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a free plug for Facebook. So tell us about you, Francine. I know you fairly well, but our viewers don't know you that well. And you are originally from Richmond?
I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia. My dad's from Richmond, and my mom is from Norfolk. And they both went to Virginia Union University, and they met there. So I was born there.
Born in Richmond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you lived there for just a short while before you left? You say you
Well,
lived
actually, I lived in Norfolk my first 7 years of my life. And then I moved to Richmond because we lived with my grandparents.
I see.
And then we were in Richmond till I was 16. And then my dad got a promotion and we moved to D.C.
To D.C.?
To D.C., yes. So I graduated high school in D.C. And my
Really?
first year of college was at Howard University.
Where did you go to school in D.C.? I never knew that.
Yeah, I graduated from Calvin Coolidge. Yay! Yeah.
What kind of child were you? What set you on the path that you are now?
I was very creative. I was one of these people who was always making up characters. And in school, I never liked to sit down. I was always the teacher's helper. Can I carry things down the hall? Anything except sit down. And anything they had that involved singing, play acting, rolling around on the ground, whatever. I was just a real kinesthetic child. And I loved being that way. And I was kind of nosy, and I liked to know what everybody was doing, very social,
Right.
all of those things. Pretty much the same way today.
all of that really smacks of an interest in theater.
Exactly.
You know, being nosy, wanting to know what people do and so forth, and what motivates people.
Exactly.
And we are going to talk about what you do in theater because you do a one-woman show on Harriet Tubman, and we're going to put some pictures up and show a little bit of a video.
Thank you.
But let's go back to the childhood. Now, you studied dance and singing in private schools?
Actually, I studied dance. I studied ballet and tap for a while until my parents couldn't afford it anymore.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and then I used to create dances in the neighborhood and, just have kids come over and we would make up dances.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were doing a little bit of choreography?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it just came naturally to me and I loved it. So everybody would come to my house and they say, okay, Francine, what's the dance for the week? And I would just make up a dance.
So you were a dance master?
I was a dance master. I loved it. And my grandmother used to take me to the beach in different places, and I wanted to be the person in the middle of the circle so I could outdance everybody and get my kudos and stuff. I just loved it.
Now, and the beach, was that here in Norfolk, or was that when you were living in Norfolk?
Yeah, there was something called Seaview Beach. It was the black beach,
right.
And they had a dance hall there. They told me, I forbid you to go into that dance hall. Well, that was just like, talking to the wall.
Yeah.
So I would stay in the dance hall until somebody came and got me and give me a whipping. But I didn't care. I did it again every time,
So when was your first appearance on stage? The first time you performed on stage?
The first time I appeared on stage, I was 12 years old, and I sang at Vacation Bible School. And they gave me a mic, and I just...
And that was it?
Yeah.
And at the end, you just threw down on the mic, right?
Yeah,
I hope you didn't do that.
I felt comfortable on stage.
It felt very natural.
Yes. And then, and it was like Sunday school. They wanted somebody to write a play about Jesus. I just said, I'll do it.
And how were you then?
I was like 13.
Okay.
And they said, you write it? I said, yeah, I'll write it. And I'll show everybody what to do.
You directed it?
I directed it too. I don't know. It's just what happened. That's how it was.
The kids that were were they kids that you directed in the?
Yeah, they were kids.
Okay. How large was the cast?
Oh, I think about 30.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
At age 13, you directed 30
I
kids?
directed 30 kids, and they were very good.
So how long did you have to go in therapy after that? Directing 30 kids?
Everybody paid attention to me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was great.
Before we move on, let's talk about the influence of your parents.
Yeah.
You said your mom was an opera singer. Was your father in the arts as well? Or?
He wasn't, but there were some uncles who were storytellers. We used to hang out in Church Hill.
Okay.
And these guys told the best stories. And I used to just like to sit around and listen to the stories. Then they would drink, take a nip here and there. And then
spice the story
yeah,
up.
to spice the story
Yeah.
up. And then they would begin singing.
Really?
And they had great voices. And then they would give me money. The drunker they got, the more money they gave me, and the more they would sing. And then I would begin singing with them.
So they gave you money to sing with them?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was wonderful. Those were some of my best memories. Just, you know. And then sometimes they would dance, and they say, "Come on, little girl, let me show you how to dance." And that was like I was in heaven.
So your creative energies were nurtured in your family?
Yes, yes. I mean, all kinds of music was played in the house. Jazz, country, classical, blues, everything was coming my way. And my mom sang cantatas and arias. And then my grandmother took me to Pentecostal churches where I heard really good gospel, old times singing. You know, it was fabulous. I had a wonderful childhood with regard to how the arts were poured into my soul.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And again, you integrate arts and education. But
I do.
let's talk briefly from a cultural perspective.
Okay.
How important do you think in the African American community are the arts? I've interviewed a number of folks who, you know, their background included music in the house,
Sure.
included musicians,
Exactly.
and artists and so forth. And so we're going to take a break now, and after we do this break, we're going to come back and pick up on that topic, because I'd like to get your insight on that. And then in
Certainly.
the latter segment, we're going to talk about Miss Harriet Tubman.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Talking to Miss M. Francine Jennings. That's Dr. M. Francine Jennings. And we're going to talk about your education again a little bit more. But when we left, we were talking about the importance and the influence of the cultural arts in African American culture.
Mm-hmm.
What would you add to that? What would your comment be about that?
Well,
How important is it?
I think we as a people tend to have certain kinds of artistic qualities that just have been passed down through the years. I mean, we have certain kinds of rhythms, we have certain kinds of creative energies that just dwell in our souls, if you will. Mm-hmm. And when our kids live in certain communities, those things are encouraged and enhanced. Thereby, when they go into an educational environment, those things need to be nurtured. So the arts definitely have a place, a very pertinent place in our educational system, so that our students can make the proper connections to who they are mm-hmm. and what they are used to. We tend not to be very sterile people, you know.
Right. Sterile when it comes to creativity.
When it comes to creativity, yes, we invite that into our lives, mm-hmm. and some of us, if we don't have that, we almost die. So imagine a kid going into a school where that doesn't exist.
Very good point.
If it doesn't exist, they will create it themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people think, well, why are they beating on the desk? Why are they always singing and humming? because that dwells inside of them. So we need to figure out a way to integrate that into our classrooms so that those things can be satisfied for that child.
Because they're getting it at home.
They're getting it home.
We like to think that they are continuing to get it at home, but we're not sure how much that happens today.
Yeah, well, it does much more than you might think.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good.
And I think that's the thing. We need to appreciate and really validate the fact that those things do happen on many, many levels. And not just say, well, they're not getting what you should get. They're getting it the best way they can get it. But if it's inside of them, it's going to come out.
It's going to come out.
Yeah, because see, that's what happened to me. Because I wanted to go to school to be a performing artist. And my mother said, no child of mine, but it came out anyway.
Right. You cannot retard that. You
can't stop what exists inside of a person, especially a child. It's going to come out.
You know, you talked about the storytellers in your own family.
Yes.
And it made me think of the griot and the African tradition.
Yes.
You know, and the importance of that is that the griots, they were not just telling stories, but they were providing a bit of education as well.
Exactly.
Okay. And
history.
So we were getting that because we weren't necessarily getting that in school.
Sure.
Now, talking about education at school, you mentioned that your parents, they met at Virginia Union.
They met at Virginia Union,
Right.
yes.
But where did you go to school? I don't want to put you on the spot and say you didn't go to Virginia Union, but
I went to Virginia Union.
Excuse me. That's where you learned Francais, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was a French major. That's not what I really wanted to do, but I did it.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
So you got your bachelor's at Virginia Union?
Yes.
Okay.
And my master's at VCU.
And what was your master's in?
Special education with an emphasis on the emotionally handicapped or emotionally disturbed students.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And also LD, learning disabled students.
So you put all of that formal education together and kept your emphasis on the cultural arts.
Yes.
And you integrated that into the education.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And give us some examples of how you were able to do that. I know you've done several things.
Weird. First of all, when I first got my doctorate, I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. I just said, God, show me how I'm going to put this together, because I cared about education, but I also cared about the arts. So I just started trying things out. And the very first troupe I had was a troupe called Eden Celebration, which I created here.
Eden Celebration.
Eden Celebration,
okay.
yeah.
Like the Garden of Eden.
Like the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
And I wanted to help students to understand themselves through drama. So we would create these scripts, write these scripts, and we would practice them, and then we would go out and perform them. Then we would come back and debrief what we had done. And these kids began to learn life skills, and some of them, it helped them with their reading and with their concentration and their focus, and all of that translated into how they did in school.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of how I started. And then I got into, I don't know if you remember Hook It Up Productions.
Yes, I remember Miss Edutainer.
Yeah, Miss Edutainer. I still have that handle too, by the way. And
Hook It Up Productions, go ahead.
Yeah, Hook It Up Productions was, it was like a production company that I put together to teach about social issues. And I used people in the community, people who were untrained, and gave them something to do. And at the same time, when we were actually producing these things, it was like people were being touched. People were learning about themselves. So I decided, I'm like, if I can teach, motivate, and inspire all at the same time, maybe that's my calling. Maybe that's what I was born to do.
And you're doing very well with that. You're absolutely doing very well with that. And
you've
not only used people from the community that didn't necessarily have a whole lot of experience, but you used seasoned actors as well.
I did, like yourself, Alan Ellis.
Yes.
And so many around
You worked with Michael too, didn't you?
Michael was in one of my very first productions when he was in high school. We did a piece called Lord Lift Us Up.
Really?
He and my daughter Colette, C.C. Coward.
Right. Yeah, they're very close friends.
Yes, it was, and a few others. I mean, they were amazing, absolutely amazing.
All right, well, we're going to take another break now. And,
Okay.
when we come back, we're going to talk about Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman,
The woman
okay.
called Moses.
All right.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Talking to Dr. M. Francine Jennings, and right now we're about to talk about her portrayal of Harriet Tubman. Why Harriet Tubman?
Oh my goodness, why not Harriet Tubman?
That's a fair
She
answer.
is such a quintessential woman. I mean,
Why do you say that? Tell us about Harriet
well, we're
Tubman.
talking about a multi-dynamic person. I mean, she not only was a conductor on the Underground Railroad, but she had the vision and the foresight to know what she was to become and who she was. Even as a child, she understood that slavery wasn't right. You know, it was something on the inside that gave her that insight. I don't know what it was, but she said it was God. And she was able to actualize things. You know how some people have a dream, but they never do anything about it?
Yeah.
She did something about it. And I was just amazed at how this woman, unlearned, a slave, living in a time where women, period, were not respected and not expected to do much of anything. She had the audacity to think that she could be free. I mean, just the thought of it.
And
like,
to take other people on that journey.
Yes.
That daring, dangerous
yes,
journey.
she's daring, she's bold, she's courageous, but she's also a person. You know, a lot of people don't realize when she first escaped from slavery, she was married.
Okay.
She was married to a man named John Tubman. That's how she got her last name.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
What was her maiden name? Do you
her
know?
maiden name was Ross.
Okay, yeah, I do
She
recall
was
that.
born
Okay.
Araminta Ross.
Yes.
That was her name.
Okay.
And at the age of 13, she displayed some courageous acts, and she took on her mother's name, which was Harriet.
From what I gather about you, and particularly with your being such an adept and keenly interested in human behavior, when you create character, surely you make yourself completely vulnerable,
Yes,
so that you
and
can
transparent,
connect. Right.
yes.
Have you ever had a visitation by the spirit of this woman, speaking metaphorically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I can't separate myself from her, and I
Okay.
have to remind myself of who I really am. It's like I'll get up in the morning, I have a picture of her in my bedroom, and I say, okay, Harriet, what would you do today? Or what are you thinking about today? And it's like I'll sit there and wait for her to answer me. And she'll say things like, go do what you do. In the midst of the fear, just do it. It doesn't matter, just do it.
People don't understand. I think that when you commit to character, the characters that you do, after you have done them for a while, they become like friends.
Yes, they become a part of you.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily understand that. But I felt that that was the experience that you were having.
Absolutely.
Set it up for us, the piece that we're about to take a look at.
Okay, one of my daughter's friends asked me to come to a church at this is crazy, 7 o'clock in the morning. And you know how we actors are about early morning stuff.
Right.
And she said, we want to hear about the music and the worship of the 19th century through the voice of Harriet Tubman.
Interesting.
And
Well, you're the perfect person to do that.
maybe.
Well, go ahead.
But yeah, so They planted me in the audience. They mic'd me up and planted me in the audience. And that was a weird experience because people didn't, I was all dressed like Harriet Tubman, and people didn't know whether to speak to me or
They just
not.
thought you were some crazy homeless lady.
Yeah, they did. But then when you think about it, I'm in church. You're supposed to speak to me.
Yes,
Even
yes,
even
yes.
if I am a crazy homeless lady. But
Right,
they
right.
didn't know, so people kind of like, oh, what's wrong with her?
That must have really blown them away when you got up and you started talking.
Oh yeah,
But go
yeah.
ahead.
And so that's how it was set up.
My mama, Rick, my daddy Ben, and all my 10 brothers and sisters. Let me tell you something. Now, we used to go to the white church because the master made us go there. And when we got there, they was singing the way they want to sing and praying and preaching the way they want to preach, and we had to sit there and take it. But we didn't like it, you see. We didn't like the way they was doing because it was dry. Hush. Somebody calling my name. And Lord, when they used to sing that song, all I can think about is when they was going down that underground railroad, and I tell them, somebody calling your name. Come on, come on. Somebody calling your name. Lord, I got so much, I feel so full. Oh, I just had to say this.
Thank you.
Oh, I just had to say this.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for your knowledge and your wisdom.
yeah.
But ma'am, you never told us your name.
Oh, yeah. Well, some folks call me Black Moses. Some call me Miss Hats. But I expect when I was born, my name was Amanda Ross. But then I got married to a man named John Tubman. So y'all probably knows me as Had Tubman.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Tubman, for being with us today.
Well,
Thank
I certainly is glad to be here.
Thank you.
Y'all keep on going back. Keep on going back. Keep on going back.
That was incredible.
Thank you.
I am so very glad that you changed your reservations to go back to Atlanta, where you're living now, so that you
Right.
can come on to Biorhythms.
Thank you.
I truly
I'm happy I
appreciate
did that. It's so good being here.
Well, it's so delightful to have you, my dear. It really, truly is.
Thank you.
And sometime in the near future, I need to do something on stage with you.
Well, you know you did that thing with me on domestic violence. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah,
You were Punch.
Yeah, a character by the name of Punch.
Yes, and you did a fabulous job.
Don't tell people that. I don't want them to think I'm a
No,
violent
but
person.
you were great.
Okay. Francine, thank you so very much.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine.
Okay.
And the pleasure is mine to have you join us as well. So thank you so very much for sticking around with us for this edition of Biorhythms. Please stay tuned to Biorhythms, because in the immediate future, we're going to have a lot of very interesting shows with creative, compelling, dynamic guests. This has been Biorhythms.